people are going to get emotional when they look at that. When you make a picture that really moves somebody, when you see it and you want to cry along looking, grown man from Colombia, with his hands and tears in his eyes. And, that's the guy who cares the most, so it's who you're cheering for. It's who has the most passion. And people say, well, how do you take that picture? Well, you should take that picture. He's going to want that picture because he knows he cared the most. Maybe not at the moment that you're taking it, but, when he looks down the line and he sees how much he cared, he'll appreciate it.
And again, that is exactly where the interest lies. Like the juxtaposition between, just imagine, I mean, you talked about football as an American football earlier. You get these huge guys that mountains of muscle. And then by the end of the game, they are distraught and in tears. It's just that juxtaposition that you see come out, that humanity that comes out all of a sudden. That's so super interesting.
Yeah. I love it. And it's true. And it's any sport. And that's what's so exciting about shooting sports is, it's photojournalism, you're telling a story, you have to be ready for it to unfold. So you're preparing, but you don't get to control what happens or when it happens. So there's so much to it. There's so much adrenaline that's tied into it. Can't get enough.
Exactly. And, and purely from a technical perspective, as a photographer, it's really challenging as well. I learned that, so I started shooting boxing events maybe, where are we now? Maybe 4 years ago or something, I started shooting boxing events. And I do them every year. I probably do about maybe 10, 12 events every year. And when I first got into it, when I first started that, I thought, yeah, no problem. I come from a music photography background, so I know how this works. Fast action in dimly lit environments. Yeah, absolutely no problem. Boy, was I wrong, because just like you mentioned this earlier, but I remember after the first fight, I thought, I think I'm not using the right equipment. This is like something's not working.
Oh yeah, in every sport, the more you know the sport, the better you're going to shoot it, right? Whatever they're doing, the athlete repeats himself. He does the same thing every time. So if it's a boxer, his footwork is like the same. He punches the same way, he'll block the same way. And if you know the sport and you know the athlete, you're going to know where to stand, what to expect. So you can be ready and capture it. But if you know nothing about the sport and it's the first time you're seeing these two guys, you think you might know about boxing, but there's so much to it, being able to shoot it. I shot boxing for the first time with Neil Leifer, of all people, to shoot my first boxing. He took me to my first boxing match in Madison Square Garden. And Neil is 80 years old. Oh, no, he's 81 now. Neil probably doesn't want me saying his age on this, but he is. I said it. And he's still shooting. He's a Sony artisan of imagery. He uses the latest equipment. He's incredible. Like he's still, and nobody knows boxing. And he, of course, took the most famous boxing photo, with Muhammad Ali over Liston, that famous one. And learning from someone like that, again, who knows the sport, Neil knows exactly like what to do, where to stand, where to go, what's going to happen, and all those things, that you don't just get to walk in and just shoot it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Again, I bring that back to my own experience. I remember the first time I shot a boxing a fight, I really didn't know anything about boxing. Like, two guys getting at each other. That's basically all I knew. And it's also then, it's like realizing what kind of shots work, and realizing when to move. The great thing for me is I have super close access. I'm literally hanging over the ropes. I mean, that's how close I am. And so I can get up on the ring side, like literally right by the ropes. So I can be eye level with the fighters right there. So it's an incredible opportunity to get shots. In fact, I mean, it's happened more than once that I had my camera body pushed into my eye socket because I was just, especially when you're shooting wide, you don't realize how close they are. You think they're much further away than they are, and before you know it, you end up with.
I've shot boxing a few times, and I've been on ringside. It's also pretty gross, but yeah, I mean, but that's what pictures are made. Again, it's that wide angle, right? Being that intimate and moving around. You don't want everything to be wide angle. So moving away from the ring and being able to shoot with a telephoto lens and have a different look, makes the story interesting too. But there's nothing like that ring side with a wide angle. It's beautiful, beautiful pictures.
Yeah.
But yeah, knowing the sport, the first thing I do if I'm shooting something I'm not familiar with is I look up who did it best, right? So you look up the Neil Lifers and you find the right photographers who've done it better than you'll ever do it. And you look at their pictures and at least know what you ought to be, and what you're striving for. So I think that's just always a nice way to start. What do I want these pictures to look like and what should they look like?
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Knowing the sport is so important. I had a conversation with David Berkman not too long ago, and he shot a lot of football, a lot of American football, in the past. And a really interesting conversation. And I remember he was saying like, well, with American football, you need to know where to be before that gameplay actually happens. So you need to be able to think ahead and go like, right, this is about to happen. I'm going to have to position myself there because I'm going to get that shot from that side of the stadium or from that position. And it's just knowing the sport well enough to know that this is about to happen and I got to move myself now is super important. Otherwise, you're just going to be missing the shot all the time.
Yeah, you're going to be, but you want to be in front of the ball and in front of the player. Exactly. So, what David's doing, he's like, okay, it's third down. He knows the team. He's probably shot the team over and over again, and I shot the 49ers for many years. And so, okay, like, who they're going to throw the ball to, or you can anticipate or at least have an idea of what. And there's nothing like knowing the sport. So you run down and you put yourself in position for the picture you want to make. And then it's luck, right? Because, sports photography is luck, and you work hard for your luck. But then when the play does happen, you don't miss. You certainly try not to. So it's all of that. And that's what makes it so fun. But yeah, there's nothing like knowing the sport and knowing the team.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full episode in glorious Technicolor. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe.